When you see clearly, you stop forcing the effort that feels tight. There are moments when everything you do feels like effort. Not the good kind, not the kind that moves things forward, but the kind that feels tight. Like you are pushing something that does not want to move. I remember sitting with something I was trying to figure out, going over it again and again, thinking that if I just tried harder, it would click. But instead, it just felt heavier. When trying more stops helping, at some point, trying more stops being useful. You repeat the same steps, the same thoughts, the same approach. It looks like persistence, but it starts to feel like resistance. This is interesting because effort is usually seen as the solution. But there are situations where more effort only keeps you in the same place. The moment things start to shift, then something small changes. Not outside, but inside. You step back even slightly. You stop pushing for a second. And suddenly, things start to look different. The problem that felt complicated becomes clearer. The tension that was there starts to ease. It is not that the situation changed. It is that your view of it did. Why clarity feels different? Clarity does not feel like effort. It feels lighter. You are not forcing an answer. You are seeing it. There is a difference between trying to make something work and understanding why it works. When you understand it, the next step feels obvious. When you do not, everything feels like guessing. A situation that feels familiar. I've noticed this during studying. When something does not make sense, forcing it really helps. You can stare at it for an hour and still feel stuck. But after stepping away and coming back, sometimes it clicks in a way that feels almost too easy. That contrast is hard to explain, but it shows how important perspective is. Why forcing comes from not seeing clearly. Forcing usually happens when something is unclear. You try to control the outcome because you do not fully understand it. That control creates tension, and that tension makes it harder to think clearly. It becomes a loop. The more you force, the less clear things feel. What happens when you stop pushing? When you stop forcing, you create space. Space to notice what you missed. Space to think differently. Space for the answer to come from understanding instead of pressure. This does not mean you stop trying. It means the effort becomes more directed, less tense. Why this changes more than one situation? This idea applies beyond one problem. It affects how you approach challenges in general. If you rely only on effort, you might miss when a different approach is needed. But if you pay attention to clarity, you start to notice when to push and when to step back. Final thoughts. When you see clearly, forcing becomes unnecessary. Not because the problem disappears, but because your understanding changes. And once you experience that difference, it becomes easier to recognize when effort is helping and when it is just keeping you stuck. Thanks for watching.